Hi, hello, welcome to or back to my channel. So today we are going to be reviewing every single book I read in 2024. I did not read as much as I would have liked, but I still read a fair amount. I think I read around 40 books, which is a lot of books really, but obviously sometimes you have, if anyone relates, sometimes I compare myself to people that are reading like over 100 books, things like that. But I have a lot of health problems, as we've witnessed on this channel if you've seen my videos, that get in the way of me reading. I think I would read more if it wasn't for my health condition. Considering that 2024 was one of the worst possible years of my life, and that's saying a lot coming from me because I've had some pretty rough years, let's just say that. The fact that I even managed to read this many books is I'm quite proud of myself, you know, because I still tried my best to keep reading. This is your reminder, if you also didn't read as many books as you wanted to, the fact that you even picked up a book is a great accomplishment, you know? Like, we're not all going to be able to read over 100 books. Some people read 5 books a year, some people read 100 books a year. It's just everyone has different circumstances. But yeah, sorry for the little rant. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, do all that fun stuff. But yeah, let's get into it. What I'm going to do, because obviously there's quite a lot of books to get through, like 40 plus books, I'm not going to be like doing synopsis and stuff. I'm just going to be saying like a couple sentences, a quick review of the book. First off, the first book that I read in 2024 was Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. We started off really good, and I actually read this because I wanted to read Yours Truly, but sadly I still haven't read Yours Truly. But this was so good. I gave it 4 stars. Obviously I read this so long ago that I don't remember much, but I remember loving the dynamic between the characters. I loved the trope. I wasn't expecting to because it's an age gap, but she's older than him, which I've never really read before. See, this is why I'm glad I have a reading journal, because I can read back on my thoughts. But it says here that I loved how this story, you see Alexis realise what true love is after being in an emotionally abusive relationship for years. It was so beautiful to see her finally discover how you're meant to be treated. Which, yeah, that was a big element of this book now I think about it, and I actually really liked that element to the story. It added a lot of impact and emotional feelings towards the book. Next book I read was Legends and Liars by Travis Baldree. This cover I am in love with, and I wish I were in love with the book. Sadly not so much. I didn't hate it. I rated it a 3.5, but I'd probably give it a 3 star. I think this was just, I don't always need plot, but this was very much a character driven story. There wasn't much going on. It was very whimsical, it was very magical, which sometimes I do love a whimsical magical story, but I feel like there wasn't enough, if that makes sense. Like, this is about a magical coffee shop, but it wasn't as magical as I would have hoped. I don't know. It was very mundane to me, and there was a lot of parts that I was quite bored. I found it quite slow, but the characters were so endearing. That is one thing that I really loved about this story. I think the characters were so charismatic and fun, and I really enjoyed the characters. I just wish there was more plot and more to the whimsical coffee shop this book was portraying, that people were saying. Everyone was saying that, oh, it's so magical and things like that. I think I was just a little bit disappointed by this book. The next one I don't own because my friend has it. We have The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. It feels like ages ago now when I read this book, but honestly it was so good. It was my first ever Freida McFadden. Come here. Taka's wanting to come. So you say hi. Yeah. Look how cute he is. My boy. It was my first Freida and I was pleasantly surprised. I really loved it. I found it really twisty, gripping. I think her writing, some people say that it's not the best writing, this, that and the other, but I honestly love her. She has become one of my favourite authors this year, just because of how quickly she grips me to her stories. I think that's why people like her, because her thrillers are very much popcorn thrillers. Like, you can just gobble them up and they're just so good. I also loved the female main character. I think she's such a good FMC, and I'm glad we've got 3 books with her because I just find her so interesting. Twisted Lies by Anna Huang. This book was a 5 star, but it feels like I read it and it just went over my head, even though I loved it so much. Although I say that, look at my review, like I wrote a million words about it. Like, I did freaking love this book so much. This was my favourite in the series. It was honestly incredible. I think I read it quite quickly as well. I was addicted to it. I would love to do a reread of this, just because I wish I remembered more, you know. But I think I've realised this year in general, that books for me, I rate off vibes and feelings, because I remember certain scenes but I don't remember everything that goes on in a book because my memory's terrible. Even if it's a 5-star, like, my brain is just not capable of that. Once I've read a book, I remember how it makes me feel, I remember certain scenes that I loved, but I don't remember everything that's gone on inside the book. So that's why I rate off feelings and vibes, and that's why this was a 5-star, because I remember when I was reading this, I was acting like an idiot. Like, let's just say that I was so giddy. I was like gripped to the page, I was super excited, I was like going like this, you know. I was like gasping all the time. I just loved it so much. I loved the tension in here. Ada Huang knows how to write tension, let's just say that. The slow burn as well. This was a slow burn, I'm pretty sure. I said here, this book broke my heart and put it back together. Yes, it definitely did. Like, there was so much emotional things going on in this book. Christian has such a good development in this story as well. When he first met Stella, it was very much an obsession, but throughout the book you really see that obsession turn into genuine love, and I loved reading about that. And Christian is probably the most conflicting, twisted man. He's definitely the most dark out of all of them, I'd say, but he's my favourite. I don't know what that says about me. I loved him. I was obsessed with him. He's definitely the best twisted man. 100%. Really liked Stella as well, because she slowly learnt to believe in herself, which I really liked in the story. Yeah, these two were just genuinely my favourite. They had my heart aching and I just loved them. Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. This I didn't originally rate 5 stars. Why? I don't know. I think it's because it took me 2 weeks to read, which is crazy because of how much I did actually love this book. But again, health, you know. This book, these books in general, I'm currently reading Saving Six. I don't know what Chloe Walsh puts in her books, but they are incredible. Like, I love them so much. I love the characters. Like, this is what I mean, I don't always need plot. This has no plot. It is just dialogue and very real. Like, it's very much just you following these characters, going through some very traumatic things, a lot of dialogue. And it's this thick. There's 2 books as well. It's like real life situations, not like a full like plot heavy book, you know. And I'm obsessed. Shannon and Johnny, I love them. I love them so much. I still think about them. I still think about their story. I still think about Shannon. She is the most beautiful, heartbreaking character ever. She deserves the world, and I'm glad that Johnny was willing to give that to her. And Johnny's character as well, and everything he goes through. And then Johnny's parents in this book. Gibbsy and Johnny, their relationship. Is it Claire and Shannon? Yeah, Claire and Shannon's friendship. Obsessed with them as well, like, just the characters in general. This is very much a found family book, and I love it. And I loved seeing Shannon finally find her people. I'm not going to say much else, I could literally speak about this book forever, honestly. Next book we have is Betting on You by Lynn Painter. This was a 4-star. I really liked this one. This book was slow at first, but once you get 100-ish pages in, it starts to feel like a Lynn Painter book, with her classic banter and fun plot lines. Lynn Painter really is the queen of fate dating. She really is. Like, she just knows how to write it. I love it every damn time. I loved Bailey's character. She's so relatable, especially with her relationship with her father. Very relatable to me. Like, I've been there and it's so tough. I love it when I find characters I can find relatability to. It makes it so much better because they feel like real people, and it allows me to connect to the story more. Lynn Painter as well has a way of writing like about young love and the feelings you get, like the butterflies and the giddiness. And I just love the way she writes about that. I think she's so good at that. I love her YA books so much. Divine Rivals. This is my favourite book of the year. I'm not going to go on too much of a tangent because I feel like I did in my review of it when I did my review. This was obviously a 5-star, 6-star read. In love with this series, in love with this book. I think it was so beautiful. One of the most romantic stories I've ever read. I loved the letters. I loved Roman and Iris. I loved everything in this book, the war, the politics. I said this in the review I did. I love the fact that in this book we get more of the relationship and the romantic side of things, and then in the next book we get more of the politics. Because I feel like this book you learn to care about these two, and then when the politics happen in the second book it makes you care more. So I think that was a really good way of doing things. I really liked that element. If you're going to read any book from this video, let it be this one. Kate is one of the best characters. Iris is one of the best characters. This is one of the best books. It's just so magical and beautiful and I love it so much. Please go read it. Like, so romantic. Look how much I wrote, guys. We've got this page and then we've got this page. That's how much I wrote about this book. Like, I was obsessed. Powerless, another one of my favourite books of the year. This was a 5-star. Now, no smut or anything happens in this book, but tell me why this has so much tension. More tension than some of the smuttiest books I've ever read. Like, this was so tension filled. I love the pull between the characters. Okay, I don't want to film without my glasses because it really shows my skin, so we're just gonna have to deal with the bad lighting. Next we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts, which I believe I already said some stuff about this. I can't remember, my camera cut off, but yeah, I was absolutely obsessed with this. I couldn't put it down. I cried at the end. Like, this book made me cry, which not a lot of books can do that, so that says a lot about the book as well. Lauren Roberts, this is a debut and she is incredible. Like, I think this was such a good debut book. But I've put in my reading journal, but I hope Lauren calms down with grey eyes and ocean eyes. Like, the amount of times she said those words, that's what gave it away that it were a debut. Like, she just kept mentioning it and I picked up on it. And I don't usually pick up on things like that. I'm not an expert when it comes to writing. I failed English, like, no, but I picked up on that because it was excessive. So I hope she calms down with that. Like, that was the only thing. But other than that, this was an incredible book and I gave it 5 stars for a reason. I have 2 special editions up there which I am in love with of these books because they are one of my favourites. These are them. I just had to get them. I'm obsessed. Like, look at the characters. The most beautiful characters ever. Caraval by Stephanie Garber, which I cannot wait to continue this series. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 3.75, so it wasn't like an absolute favourite book, but I still really enjoyed it. It was such a fun plotline. Like, I loved the games. It was just a really fun story and I'm excited to continue the story, see where it goes. I love the whimsical vibes. Like, it's just, Stephanie Garber has a way of writing. Like, she's really good at putting you right there in the place and helping you to imagine things. Like, she's really good at that. I put here that the reason why I didn't rate this book really high is because it didn't really pull any emotions out of me. I was just reading it, you know, but I still had a really good time with it. If Only I Had Told Her by Lauren Owen. If He Had Been With Me was one of my favourite books of 2023. I gave it a 5 star. I was like, it broke my heart and I loved it. I loved the book, I loved the story, I loved the characters, obviously. This one, I gave a 3.75. I didn't enjoy it as much. But I'm glad we got this book. Like, I've been seeing people are saying that this book wasn't necessary, which I understand, maybe it wasn't, but I'm glad we got this book. I'm glad we got the reassurance of where Autumn was, how she dealt with everything. I think it was nice to have that. So yeah, I am glad we got this story. But it was nowhere near as good as the first one. And I actually enjoyed the POV of Finney's best friend as well, which I've been seeing people complain about. I'm glad we got his POV. The only thing with this is we did get Finney's point of view as well, which I was hoping we'd get more of Finney's point of view. I thought that's what this book was going to be, and it wasn't. It was only like the first like 100-ish pages where we got his point of view. Hunting Adeline. This is a big boy. Big boy. And I enjoyed this. I give it a 4 star. This made me realise that I really like dark romance and I need to read more dark romance. This is dark, like really dark. I really jumped into the deep end with this series, but I really enjoyed it. I think enjoyed, like, it's a weird word to use, but I did enjoy it. Like, I couldn't put the book down, and I realised that the stuff that happens in this is so morally wrong. But that's why it's fiction. That's why I love it. I put here, these books are my guilty pleasure, which they literally are. Like, some people judge people that like books like this. Judge me if you want, I don't care. I love these sort of books. I love books with characters that are morally grey. I think they're just so interesting to read about and they're so addictive. This has some very like hard topics to read about. Like, I did struggle with the start. Like, it was a lot. I can understand why people don't like this book because the details in this it's very vivid, it's very real. It makes your skin crawl, let's just say that. But it's also the realities of the situation that Addie was in. And that's why I understand why some people don't like this story, because it is a lot. And I enjoyed that Addie got that revenge. But yeah, this is one that I don't have with me. We have Fake Dates and Min Cakes. This I don't have much to say. It was a 3 star, it was cute, but I don't really remember anything that happened in it. But if you want a really cute story with like LGBTQ plus characters, which I really want to read more of, this is a perfect one. I also really enjoyed the family vibes in this book as well. It was just really wholesome. Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. This was a 4 star. I love Ali. Can't wait to read more of her books in 2025. She does banter so well, and the women in STEM trope so well. This I didn't enjoy as much as The Love Hypothesis, but it was still gave me those vibes of like all the butterflies. It gave me all the butterflies. Her characters are quirky in the most fun way, and Ali could make, I put here, only Ali could make me like a character who wears galaxy leggings, literally. Very, very 2000s core, like the character wears galaxy leggings. I really enjoyed Levi's character. He's such an awkward guy and it was really cute to read about. And I loved that B like kept him on his toes. Yeah, I really enjoy Ali. Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This was a 4.5, like so close to being a 5-star. I just love Russ Callahan. Like, he is one of the best book boyfriends ever. He's just so understanding. Like, the way he understood Aurora was just so beautiful. He's such a golden retriever. I just love a golden retriever character that's super shy and awkward. It's just so cute. There's something about a buff hockey player who is so awkward and shy that hits the heart. Literally, like, he had my heart melted. In this book, there was a lot of little gestures that Russ did for Aurora, which those little gestures sometimes mean the most, and that's what I really liked about this book. Like, he was just really sweet and attentive to her. I also loved the environment in this book, like the cabin and the forbiddenness of that, like the fact that they had to try and like stay away from each other, but they really struggled. And then there was one scene as well where they used to go to this like spot, I'm pretty sure, in this book, and they'd just sit there for hours, and it was just so adorable. I loved that Aurora was the wild one and brought Russ out of his shell, and the dynamic was adorable because Aurora was the confident one while Russ was shy. They made such a beautiful couple. I love them. Yeah, Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams, which I gave this a 3.5. Honestly, don't really remember much about this one. This book was quite like steamy, but I don't mind a smutty book. Like, I like smut books, but they didn't really have an emotional connection, which I didn't really enjoy. Sometimes that can work for me, but it didn't work for me in this book. It felt like it was just all physical, because these two would have been so cute if there was more emotion, but there wasn't. So yeah, that's why I gave it a 3.5. Towards the end, I started enjoying this book more, and it made me want to give it a 4-star, because we started to get more of that emotional development, but it wasn't enough for me to give it 4. If we got that throughout the whole book, this would have been a 4-star. It's The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This was such an interesting read. I gave it a 4-star. It definitely wasn't what I expected. It was very strong on the grief element, which I wasn't expecting going into this. I thought it was going to be like a cute romance, which it was cute. It's very much focused on Florence's character and her dealing with grief rather than the relationship. But the relationship was great in this. It was very interesting, and I loved where the plot went. Really like that Ashley Poston has such unique stories. I feel like she's a very unique presence in the writing industry. Like, she always just has such interesting plotlines. Like, this one's about a ghost and a woman falling in love, which you don't really get anywhere else. I think as well, because this had such an interesting plot, it made up for some really fun scenes, like them two like trying to figure out why he's a ghost, what he needs to do to go to the other side. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This was a 4-star. I think this was such a beautiful story and one that everyone needs to read. Very real to what happens in real life. Like, I feel like this book probably has helped a lot of people that have gone through something similar to the character Lily in here. It's such an important and impactful story. I think Lily's character is such an inspiring character to a lot of women. Like, she's so strong, and seeing her come out of the other side of abuse was an amazing thing to read. Like, it just shows that you can come out on the other side. I think she is a character that everyone should read about. Like, people say, oh, this book's dramatised and la, but this book is going to help a lot of people, and this book is such a good book, in my opinion. I think it's incredible. The reason why this book is called what it's called, when you find that out, it honestly makes your heart drop. Like, it's such a beautiful scene, and it's just so sweet. I'm surprised I didn't cry at that. This book didn't make me cry, but that scene was very close. Like, my eyes were filling up a little bit. Atlas and Lily as well, they have one of the most unique love stories. Like, I think their story, I feel like I keep using the word beautiful, but it truly was very beautiful. And I think the way Lily helped Atlas was so sweet. Like, I love Lily's character. She's one of my favourite characters for sure. Things We Left Behind by Lucy Score. Lucian and Sloane. The story we all wanted. The story we were all excited for. It didn't disappoint. I loved this book. I absolutely adored this book. I gave it 5 stars because it was just incredible. Lucy Score has very addictive writing. She's just super quick and easy to read, and I think the reason why I couldn't put this book down is because of my love for the characters inside of this book. Sloane especially. I loved Sloane. She was so sassy and confident. I loved her. She is definitely the best character in this series. I also loved Lucian and finding out more about him, because he's very suspicious in the other books. Like, we don't know much about him. We just know that these two are enemies, but we don't know why. When we find out why, it's so sad, and it's like you understand why they are the way they are towards each other. and seeing them come out on the other side was just so good. The scene, like, I could read a whole book about Lucian and Sloane when they're teens. Like, those scenes were the best parts about this book. Like, obsessed. I feel like I keep, my vocabulary is so bad, I'm so sorry guys, but yeah, please go read, like, if you're gonna read this series, you read it just for them. Like, obviously read the first two first and then this one. Then She Was Gone by Lisa Joel, another author that became one of my favourites this year, and I can't wait to read more of her books. I read one last year which was a 5-star, and then I read this one this year which is a 4-star. I love her stories. I think they're very dark. Obviously thrillers are dark anyway, but I feel like Lisa Joel takes it to like a whole other level, especially in this one. This took turns that I was not expecting. It's a very, very heartbreaking story. I really like Lisa's thrillers because they are so twisty, like in a way that you wouldn't expect. So I feel like every time I go into one of her thrillers, I never know where the story's gonna go, which is really exciting. And I never can predict anything. Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This was a 5-star. This was also my favourite in the Dreamland Billionaire series. It was so good. I really love this story as well because it had such a big family element in it, which I didn't think I'd love, like children in books and things like that, because I'm not personally a very maternal person, but I did really enjoy it in here. The bond between Cal and Cammy was just one of the sweetest things ever to read. Like, the little moments that they shared together, them slowly building a bond together, was just delightful. Like, I loved that part of it so much, and I feel like that's why, like, one of the many reasons why I enjoyed this book so much. Alana, she was amazing. One main thing with this story as well was Cal. Like, I feel like he had such a good character development in this story. Like, he really stepped up for Cammy and became the best father figure to her, and then he also was on a journey of like self-love, which I think was really good. I felt really proud of him when reading about him. Like, I felt like I knew him when reading it. Like, I just felt proud of his character. Like, he came so far in this story. He was like the one that I was always the most intrigued by. I feel like authors always do that. They always do like the best character last in the series to like keep you hooked to the series. I also loved that Lana in this story was like always held Cal accountable for his action, like put him in his place and made sure that, like, she always put her daughter before anything, which I think was amazing. She was just such an amazing mother, and I just loved her like journey with the baking and stuff as well. She was really sweet. This is another one I'd love to reread one day because I want to have those feelings again that I had when I first read it. Friends, Lovers and the Big Terrible Thing by Matthew Perry. Now, I didn't rate this because it's a memoir and I feel a bit weird rating a memoir. Unless a memoir's 5-star, then I will give it 5-star, but anything under that, I'm not rating someone's life, you know. It's a very weird read. Like, it was so repetitive, but I feel like the reasoning for that is because the life of Matthew Perry was very repetitive. Being an alcoholic is a very repetitive situation because you're constantly going round and round in circles with the addiction, and I feel like that made it more real while reading it. It made you frustrated reading it, but that's exactly how Matthew felt, so I feel like that made sense for the story, but then it also made it hard to read at times. It was a hard read as well because I just love Matthew Perry so much, and the fact that he's passed away now is just heartbreaking. So I'm glad that I got more insight into him and his journey with alcoholism. And I think the hardest part with this is how much he wanted to live and how much he appreciated life, but you saw him fight that, like, in his head, because he had this addiction that was so tumultuous and so hard for him. Yeah, I feel like this book shows a lot of bravery as well, especially with how honest he is inside of it. So yeah, this was a weird one, but I'm glad I've read it. I'm glad I know more about Matthew now. Because throughout his whole life, he always felt like he was unlovable, and I wish he knew how loved he actually was. That's one of the most heartbreaking things about this as well, is you really see how much Matthew hates himself, which just breaks my heart because he's such an amazing person. Wayward by Emily Hart, which this was a 4-star. This was very different for me because it's a historical fiction. There's no romance really. It's just about 3 women in different decades, which is not something I usually read. Like, I'm very much, like, as you can see from the things I've read, very much a romance girly. So this was different and I actually really enjoyed it. It was a very powerful story as well. Like, I feel like one thing I liked about this is every timeline was interesting. Like, there wasn't a point where I was bored. It always kept me intrigued, which I think can be quite hard sometimes when you've got 3 different characters in 3 different timelines. Sometimes you end up only caring about one, or not caring about certain ones, so then there's parts of the book you don't enjoy. But I feel like the way this was all put together was incredible. Like, I think the author is amazing, because the way that it all came together towards the end as well was just insane. Like, how all three of these women are collected was just so good. Like, very interesting reading. I would highly recommend it. I put here, this author has such a way with words. The story was so intricate, layered and well put together. The characters were so complex and well written. Honestly, I'm just so shocked with the story and how well crafted it was. I loved following the women and their stories, with them discovering their gifts and seeing how they all connected was so good. Powerful by Lauren Roberts. This was a novella, and this shocked me because it's literally under 200 pages, I think, or just over 200 pages. And this was a 4-star, which is crazy for a book this short. The way this book made me feel so many emotions when it's this short is crazy. I'm so glad we got Adina's story. I did cry reading this as well, because I knew what was coming and the ending just broke my heart. I was like holding out hope that there was going to be a different ending, but it was inevitable because of the way the first book ended. It really broke my heart, and I just love Adina so much. I love the fact that we got a story about a woman in a fantasy world that doesn't want to fight. She's just there. And I feel like that's like all those girlies that read fantasy books, you know? So it's nice to like have a story about a girl in a fantasy world that's not a fighter, because most of the time you do get the ones that are fighters, like Paydon in Powerless, which I absolutely love her, but it's just nice to have something a little bit different, you know? This book, the romance in here, has more impact than some of the longer romance books that I've read this year, last year. Like, that's how good of a writer Lauren is, in my opinion. Like, I just think she is so amazing at writing romance. She just gets me every damn time. I love seeing Adina and Mac work together as well. This was just amazing. Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. As I said, this is one of my favourite things to come out of 2024 for me. This whole, I wish there was more books, like, honestly, but I feel like the reason why it's so good is because it is a duology. So a lot of people say, oh, they don't really enjoy it because there isn't much romance in it, but there is still a lot of romance in it. And I think the reason why I love this was because of the angst inside of here. Like, the wanting of these two to be back together is just so hard, because it's really good. I'm not going to say much about this one because obviously it's the second in the series, but the angst in here is everything. Like, I was obsessed with it. I think this was so good because of the first book, because the author made you connect to the characters. The politics in here just hit different because of that, because you care so much for the characters. This is another one I don't have with me, but we've got One Last Shot by Betty Coyote. Do not remember much about this. This was a 3-star. It was such a slow read. Like, I was so bored reading this, honestly. I think this book was a really cute romance, but there just wasn't much to it for me, and I found it really slow in parts. There was just so much miscommunication in it, which made me not enjoy it. Like, it's just constant miscommunication. It made sense why they miscommunicated, but the amount they miscommunicated did not make sense at all, and it made me just completely lose interest in the story, because every 2 seconds there was miscommunication. I wish I was joking. The reason why I gave it 3-star is because I loved the setting, and I really enjoyed like the scene, because the main guy in it is a photographer. I enjoyed the scenes where they was doing the photography together. I think that was really cute. There was a scene where they went to a bakery, I think. Wish that scene were longer. Like, there were certain parts in it that was so cute, and it could have made up for a really good romance if there wasn't so much miscommunication, which is really frustrating. It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is the sequel to It Ends With Us. Again, this is another sequel that people just don't seem to enjoy, but I really enjoyed it. It was a 4-star for me. I'm so glad we got to see Lily and Atlas finally, and see where they ended up after the first book. I don't want to say much about this because it's the second, and I feel like I'll give a lot away if I say too much. Really glad we got a book for just Lily and Atlas. I feel like I personally really wanted that in the first book, because obviously the first book more focuses on Lily, which is amazing and is what it should be. So I feel like this is a great sequel, because we then get to see the relationship that Lily and Atlas develop after everything that went on in the first book. That's all I'm going to say. I have Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is the second, I think. It should be the second book in Chestnut Springs. Now, there's something I'm going to admit with the Chestnut Springs series. I have got them all muddled up in my head. I am not going to lie. Like, I'm really sad about it because I enjoyed them so much, but I don't remember certain things. Like, I've got it all disjointed in my head, and it's really annoying. I wish my brain wasn't like this. but I forget things so easily. I get things mixed up so easily, like it's a problem. I feel like I can't say much because I honestly don't really remember anything. But it was a 4-star. I'm still going to say it's a 4-star because I did really enjoy it. Hook, Line and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. This one I gave 4-star. I really enjoyed in this that it was very much a friendship at first. Like you just saw these two build such a genuine connection, which I feel like you get in books, but I feel like they always end up in a romance really quick. Whereas in here, it was definitely, for like majority of the book, a friendship. And I just loved that. I loved seeing them just be friends, because I feel like I don't read many friends to lovers. I loved Hannah so much, and I loved reading about her love for music. Such a sweet girl. I loved seeing her find her inner leading role and taking control of her life. Fox was such a fun character. I loved seeing him figure out his identity and getting rid of the stereotypes people placed on him. Hannah and Fox were so sweet. They had me giggling so much, and I loved that Hannah got Fox into music, and how they shared that love for music was adorable. Yeah, that was like one of the main parts of why I love this book, is the music elements. Like these two genuinely like shared so many things together, and it was so sweet. Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This book took me a month to read, which I think is just ridiculous. Like I was in such a bad slump when I was reading this, and it put the book down a little bit for me. I feel like if I reread this it would definitely be a higher rating, but I did give it 4 stars. It's still a good book, but because I read it so misplaced, it literally took me a book that short to take me a month is crazy. One thing that really stood out to me in this book was the relationship between the sisters. I loved seeing them like reconnect and build that relationship again. I actually enjoyed that more than the relationship in here. Another one, I don't have the book, but I read The Secrets of My Spectrum by, I think it's Callum something or something like that. I read this because my mum got me it. I have an autistic niece, so I wanted to read like a book about autism. Obviously everyone's different, everyone deals with things differently, but this book is written by a boy who is autistic, and you read about his like discovery of that and discovering who he is and the like his conflicts with his autism. And I think it was such an impactful read, and I'm really glad I read it. I didn't rate that because it's a like non-fiction and I didn't feel like rating it. Relationship Status by Anastasia Kingslaw. Anna is one of my favourite YouTubers, so I was really excited to read this. I actually listened to the audiobook for this because Anna actually audiobooks it herself, and it was a really enjoyable experience. I did actually rate this one. I gave it a 4 star. The only thing with this book, because she says it's for everyone, but in my opinion it's not really for people in relationships. I'm in a relationship and I didn't really take anything away from this, obviously, because it's called Relationship Status. I'm already in a relationship. I don't really need like there's a lot of advice in here that people who are in relationships don't really need. But the thing that made me love this book was just finding more out about Anna and her life and her funny stories. It was a very fun read. I was giggling. It was quite funny. I think Anna is such a funny girl as well, and it really shows in this book. And yeah, it was just a really enjoyable experience to listen to this book. Also got the signed edition because I just love her so much. Reckless by Elsie Silver. This one I gave a 4 star. I do remember this one because I remember Theo. I was really excited to read his story because he is the bull rider in the first book. And then we've got the Summer, I think she's called Summer in the first book, her sister, which in that book you hate her sister because she's just such a bitch essentially, like, but then in this book we find out why she is the way she is, and I feel like you really come to understand Winter as a character. These two together was so good, like so much tension. Yeah, again, I don't remember a ton, but I really enjoyed it. This is why I rate off vibes, guys. Dick and Courtney here. I just want to say as well, I forgot to like completely say this, but one thing I also really loved about this book was that we got like such a deeper element to Summer and Winter's relationship, and you really saw that in this book. Their relationship with their parents, why they act the way they do towards each other, and then seeing them finally like actually speak and communicate and talk to each other was just so good. I loved their relationship. And then I also just loved Winter and Theo. They were so funny together. They were great. They were a great couple. There is a trope in here that I can't say, but when that thing happens, I feel like they come together so well, and it's such a good story. But yeah, again, I wish I remembered more. It's so frustrating when you know you love a book, but you can't remember the actual story. Like it's so, but you remember like how it made you feel and the characters and things like that. But yeah. Can anyone else relate to this, or is it just my stupid brain? Anyway. Now we're on to the 2 that I gave 5 stars. these two, which I love these two so much. Powerless first. This is about Jasper and Sloane, which these two are childhood best friends, which I need to read more on actually. I've got my review up because I haven't put it in my reading journal yet. Put here, I absolutely adored the way these two understood each other. It was incredible. I love how they went from childhood best friends to lovers. It was everything. This book had so much heart and emotion inside. I love seeing Jasper overcome his fear and insecurity when it comes to those he loves. He was such a lovable, misunderstood MC. I loved learning more about Jasper and unravelling his past. He deserves the world. I loved seeing Sloane build up her confidence and independence after everything with her manipulative asshole dad and her ex-husband was everything. She is amazing. Both of them had such good journeys separately in here, but then when they came together it was so beautiful, because Sloane had her conflicts with like her family because they've always, like her dad and has always tried to control her, so when she took control of her own life, that was so good. And then we also have Jasper, who has a lot of anxiety, and seeing him overcome that, I love reading about as someone that struggles with anxiety. But yeah, this was beautiful. I loved it so much. Again, the last in the series, we have a pattern here. I seem to always love the last in the series in, like, they always seem to be my favourite. But we have Hopeless, which Bo Eaton, let me just say, he was so amazing. Like, this one was really romantic in my opinion. Like, I feel like this was the most romantic in the whole series. When they were like going to their spot, like, because they live near each other, there's this like little lake, and when they go there and sit there for hours at night and talk to each other, it's so sweet. Like, I loved it. The female main character in here has these brothers, which are just assholes, let me just say. And when Bo like puts them in their place, it's so good. Bo Eaton in here has a lot of struggles because he is a military man and he has a lot of PTSD. Really get into depth with that in this book, and I think that was a really good part of this story as well. Elsie always has great, like, deeper elements to her stories. Like, they're very smutty, but they also always have something in there that's got a lot of emotion as well. This was definitely my favourite in the series. They were definitely my favourite couple. Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter, which this is the sequel to Better Than the Movies. Better Than the Movies is one of my favourite books because it literally feels like a movie while you're reading it. It's so good. Lynn Painter, as I've said in many videos before, she has a skill of doing that. This I give 4 stars. It wasn't as good as the first one. I was a little bit annoyed that she made the characters break up. Why she did that, I don't know. I did not like that, but they came back together, so it's fine. I was scared going into this because I knew that was going to be the case. And I was scared the way Lynn Painter was going to handle that, because these two characters I love so much, and I was so scared that the sequel was going to ruin them for me. But it didn't. I still love Liz and Wes so much. This was still very rom-commy, which is similar vibes to the first one. Not quite as good as the first one, but still a really good sequel. I just loved seeing these two again. And I am glad we got another book of Wes and Liz, because I really like them two as characters. And like I say, Lynn Painter is just amazing at YA books. And then also seeing like Wes trying to win Liz back was so much fun. The grovelling was so good, but yeah. And I just liked having those feelings of butterflies again, like I got with the first book. The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden, which is the sequel to The Housemaid. Again, because it's a sequel, I don't want to say too much. I loved following Millie again. I rated them both the same. I gave this one a 4 star, but I do think I enjoyed The Housemaid a little bit more. But this was more unpredictable to me, I think. This took turns I wasn't expecting, so it was really good. I'm going to briefly go through these Frida books because I did a full video on these and I went into full depth on my reviews and stuff. But next we have Never Lie by Frida McFadden. This one I gave 4 stars. This is like a favourite for people, but it was good. It wasn't my all-time favourite Frida. I think my all-time favourite's coming up in a minute, but this was really interesting. One thing I'll say about this is the house where everything went down was very eerie, very dark, and I did feel quite scared reading this, I won't lie, just because of the house that they were in. It was really creepy. That's one thing I really remember about this. And this defo, again, I feel like Frida has a way of doing twists that I just personally don't expect. There's a lot of people say she's quite predictable, but I didn't predict the things that happened in here at all. The Boyfriend by Frida, my all-time favourite Frida. I gave this one 5 stars. This was insane. Like, I loved the twist. The twist in this was some of the best twists ever. I think they were incredible, and I think the way this story went was so good, so that's why I had to give it 5 stars. Again, if you want a more in-depth review, go watch my video. I finally started my Harry Potter journey in 2024, and I read Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I'm not usually an audiobook girly, I won't lie, but I've been like trying here and there because I heard that the audiobooks are really good, which they definitely are. Like, the guy who plays Hagrid in here, because Hagrid is very much like a main presence in the story, it was so well, it's all the same guy, I'm pretty sure, but the guy who voices the characters, especially when he voices Hagrid, so good. I would highly recommend the audiobook if you like audiobooks. I'm sure like most of you probably already read Harry Potter though, like it's one of the most popular series in the world. The fact that I haven't read it yet is criminal because I've watched all the movies. I absolutely love the movies, so I feel like the books everyone says are better, so I'm super excited to continue on. But this was just magical, it was great. I know this is probably not going to be the best in the series, it's not the best movie, it's not going to be the best book, but it was still such a great start, and I gave it 4 stars. I loved all the characters, Ron, Hermione and Harry, they're just the best trio ever. I love them 3 so much. I think it actually helps that I've watched the movies, because I feel like I could imagine everything even more so because I've seen the scenes, and then after I read this book I did watch the movie, so that's what I'm gonna do. Every time I read one of the books I'm gonna then watch the movie after. This is probably like one of the things I'm most excited to continue in 2025. Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake, which I've got the most stunning edition, but sadly I didn't really enjoy this book. I give it a 3 star, so it wasn't the worst, like I still had fun with it, but it wasn't one of my favourites. 3 star isn't a bad rating for me, it's just like average, you know, like I enjoyed it, probably won't think about it again, didn't really impact me in any way, but I'd still recommend, which is kind of how I feel about this. I think the Christmas vibes in it were so good though, like there were so many great scenes, like Christmassy scenes. There was like a lot of fun scenes in the snow, there was this little like dating event that they were doing that was super cute, and then there were a part where they got snowed in, so there was a lot of like cute Christmassy elements to it, but I think the actual story between the characters didn't really work for me. I think the trope of exes getting back together just doesn't work for me, because I feel like you broke up for a reason. I would recommend this around Christmas time though, because it does have such great Christmas vibes, but this took me longer than it should to read again. But again, the second half of the year was when the slump hit. I think it was around June when I really got the worst slump, because my skin started getting really bad on the second half of the year. Like it was bad the whole year, but the second half was like next level. Maybe if I read it quicker I would have enjoyed it more. That's one thing with me, if I read a book slow, it really impacts how I feel about the book. The last book I read in 2024, which was a really short one, I do own it, but I'm not getting it because it's like right at the back of all my books, and I really don't want to get it. It's literally a tiny book right at the bottom of a massive stack. So yeah, it was a novella, This Winter by Alice Oseman. How did I forget that? It follows Nick and Charlie from the graphic novels that I absolutely adore. I've rated every single one 5 stars, they're so good. But this was like actual writing, which I've never read Alice Oseman's writing. I will say this was a novella, so it didn't really do a ton. I still give it 4 star though, so that's something. Like I still really liked it. If I love the characters I'm gonna give it 4 star, you know, which Nick and Charlie were in here, which I absolutely loved. But the main part of the story is we got a lot about Charlie's sister, who is a very complex character. Solitaire, that's the series this book's from. This is the start of that. I think Solitaire is about her character, which I cannot wait to read. So excited to read about her and get more insight on her brain. One of the things I really loved about this story as well was Charlie and her relationship. I loved them two so much. I loved them in the series as well. I think they have such a great bond, and I'm so glad Charlie has her and she has him, because their parents, they're not the best. Like the mum, she tries, but she's not the best. The dad's alright, but yeah, I'm really glad they have each other. And then we also have the little brother as well, and then we meet the little pug that Dick gets. This is all set on Christmas Day as well, so it was nice to just read it as my last book of the year, my last Christmas book. I do wish I got to read more Christmassy books, but sadly I didn't. That is every single book I read in 2024. I'm sorry if this video was a bit repetitive, because my vocabulary is quite repetitive. I tried my best to review them as quick as possible. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know your favourite book of 2024. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, all that fun stuff. I love you all. Bye!